Hi everyone! Today I'm here with the video which is obviously called My Biggest Disappointments of 2017. So these are the 5 books that I thought weren't as good or they could have been better. I didn't enjoy them as much. I still enjoyed some of them, but not as much as I thought I would. So in no way it means that they're bad books. It just means that I didn't quite enjoy them. And if they're one of your favourite books, I'm sorry, but we're all different, so I hope there's no offence. The first book that I want to talk about here is called Foxlow by Eleanor Westerberg. I really looked forward to reading this book, and I've heard that it is quite cozy, gothic, and very, very interesting and unusual. And it's set in a house, and I thought I liked books set in a house. This one was definitely an exception. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Basically, it is about this group of people who live in the same place and believe in weird different things, but the premise of the book sounded completely different, so I thought it'd be something completely different. And on the back it just says, green and blue are sisters, Foxlow is home, outside is bad, green understands, why can't blue? So I thought it would be something much different than what it was, because apparently I don't enjoy books which are set in a place in which people have different beliefs which are completely different from how it is in real life, and I just don't enjoy such things. It's just too weird for me and a bit too disturbing from time to time, and this book definitely was disturbing in many ways for me, so it wasn't cozy for me in any way. I gave this book 2 stars originally, and to be completely honest with you, I don't even feel like I want to keep this book, because when I look at it, it reminds me of not having fun reading the book, of feeling kind of disturbed by what I was reading from this book. So I don't know, it's not a great book in my opinion at all. I know that many people loved it, many people felt the same way as I did, so it is really up to you to decide if you like this book or if you don't like this book, because people do seem to have different opinions on it. But that's my opinion. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, but I didn't DNF it obviously because I own this book, and I feel bad for not finishing a book if I bought it, even though it was a lot cheaper. But maybe at some point I'll just get rid of it. Second book on the same note, by the way, it is called The First Book of Calamity League by Paula Lichterovich. I still don't know how to pronounce the author's name, but it was my first random book. I was planning to do a series of videos in which I'll go to the library, pick up a random book according to, I don't know, its cover or title, which is completely random, and start reading it and then make a review of it. For now, I only managed to do 1 video like that. I'm hoping to continue that in the future. I just hadn't had time and everything, excuses. But that book, again, I didn't know anything about it before I got into that book, and when I was reading it, I thought it was set in a fantasy world or with different creatures that weren't even people, but no, it turns out again it was about this group of people living in one closed place, and they believe in weird things which are not real, and they think that the world works in one way and it obviously works in a completely different way. I don't enjoy such books, and there were 2 last year that I read, and I didn't find them interesting at all, and I would struggle to pick this book up again from time to time. It wasn't engaging for me at all. The things that they were thinking about were just not very, I don't know, it was just a bit too disturbing again and too weird, and it's not my type of book about that, and that's what I learned from those 2 books. I will never read a book again about a cult or about a group of people which are completely different from, you know, have different beliefs about how the world works for one reason or another. I'm not explaining that, but yeah, if you want to know more of my thoughts on that book, I will leave the link to that video down below, so I'm not going to go too much into detail in here. The third book that I want to talk about is called Stealing Time by KJ Waters. I won this book in a giveaway, so I was really happy and really excited to start reading it. I love the cover of this book, and it genuinely was the book that I looked forward to the most, because the premise of it sounded really interesting and unique. So basically this is a story about a girl who was transferred into the past of the 17th century London, and she's being accused of being a witch there. It sounds really good, right? But I made a full review of this book again, so I will leave the link to it down below if you want to know more of my thoughts. But I was so disappointed in this book. I gave it 2 or 3 stars, I can't remember at the moment. There were a couple of moments that I enjoyed, and in general, from time to time, I would feel like I need to know what happens. And it is the first book in the trilogy, by the way. I kind of am interested in the second book, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not going to. And many people say that this is a fast-paced book. I completely disagree with it, because to me it felt like very, very slow. And the thing that I didn't like on it as well is that from time to time it will be in a perspective of a girl who is in the past, and from time to time will be chapters from the present, from her friend, and how she's dealing with a storm. By the way, it all started with a storm, if I forgot to mention it. And from time to time it felt like completely unnecessary, those chapters about the friend, because we would be in the middle of something and would be finally something interesting happening, and now we are back to the present with her dealing with the storm and everything. And it wasn't even that eventful, to be honest, to include those chapters at the point, so it felt a bit pointless, and I got out of the story again, and then I didn't want to read again, so I found it hard from time to time to just keep reading this book. I struggled with it a lot, and it took me a long time to finish this book, which is, I think, 300 pages or something like that, and it took me a month or a month and a half to read, so it wasn't engaging in any way for me. And it also is described as a thriller, fast-paced thriller. I completely disagree with it. So I was really, really disappointed in it. The fourth book is Desperation by Stephen King. It was my buddy read with Unicorn, and in no way means that I didn't enjoy the buddy read itself, because I really did enjoy it. She's lovely. I absolutely love her. The link to her channel will be in the description box as well, because you should definitely check her out if you haven't already. She's awesome. But the book itself, I mean, I gave it 3 stars, and it was my first, I think, my first Stephen King's book, because we both wanted to start reading his books. And after reading that book, I just realized that I don't really want to continue anything, because they're a bit too disturbing and too weird for my taste. I mean, the book wasn't even that scary or that creepy. It was just weird and disgusting from time to time. Like, details were disgusting of the things that happened. And yeah, so that book was about this town called Desperation, and everything seems to be really, really quiet, and there are people who are going to find out why, and stuff happens there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I didn't like it very much. I enjoyed buddy reading with Unicorn though. I am hoping that we will read another book at some point in the future together, but that book was just not the best to start with from Stephen King, to be honest. I know that there are much more popular books, maybe we should have started with one of those, but at the moment, at this point in my life, I'm not interested in Stephen King anymore, so yeah. And the last book that I want to talk about is more of a classic one. It is called The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I listened to it as an audiobook, and obviously it is about a time machine, so I thought it would be quite interesting, quite exciting, what you can do with the story that brings you back to the past, what things could happen there. But it wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. I think I gave 3 stars. It was interesting, but from time to time I would find myself thinking of completely different things, not paying attention to the book because it wasn't engaging and there weren't very interesting things happening. So it wasn't very interesting or very exciting. And also what didn't help me personally is that it was set kind of like a person is telling the story of what happened to him when he used that time machine, and I think that didn't work. Probably would have been better if he was explaining it as it was going on, you know, not the things that already have happened and now he's looking back at them. I didn't quite like it. I don't think it worked for the story really well, but yeah. So I think it's a fascinating concept of going back to the past, and yeah, just enjoy books like that, but this one just wasn't interesting enough. So yeah, again, I apologize if one of the books that I mentioned were your favorite or the ones that you really, really enjoyed, but we are all different, we have different tastes, so maybe you hated the book that I absolutely loved and I'm fine with it. Tell me in the comments one of your least favorite books of 2017. I would love to know that. And if you feel the same way or a different way about the books that I just mentioned, please feel free to tell me as well. But for now, thank you for watching. Bye!